Episode 2. Episode 2 is super exciting. Talk to them, Drew.
We're going to send them with Louis Molina at eXp Realty.
What Louis is going to basically do is spend a week with every one of the contestants, and he's going to show them the ins, the outs, how to prospect, how to post, how to drum up business, all of the systems and processes that these 3 agents are going to need to scale their business from 3 houses to 5 to 10 to 20 to hopefully a few hundred. You guys are going to love it.
Alright guys, so we just finished having a clapping session, so right now we're going to get into a recap of what you guys learned this week, and we're going to talk about, what your goals are, where you're going to see yourself in a year, 2, 3 years, 4 years down the road, and let's just get this party started.
Yeah.
Let's do it. I'm excited. So, talk to me, what did you guys learn this week?
I think my biggest takeaway in this entire business is going to be the consistency, is keeping your head up, keeping the consistency going every single day, have a schedule, be an amazing person at time management because that is huge in this industry, and always be open to learning from everybody, people who've been in the business, brand new people, everybody can teach you something.
So, you said the first struggle for you was just you want to know everything.
I want to know everything.
That's good because, if you're willing to learn, then somebody's going to be able to teach you, right?
Yes.
So that means you're approachable. We'll start off, right now, let's say if you get a buyer, what is your process with them?
So I have to throw out a little credit through, I am definitely reaching out to people and the successful people just like yourself to see how you do things and handle things. So 100%. I did get this from somebody, but my approach is basically to have them come into the office and sit down with them.
Okay.
Explain the entire process to them so they have no surprises, and essentially they will be contacting me less throughout the process 100%. And just set the standards correct, get all the paperwork signed, find out where they want to do, make sure they have their pre-approval. Once I have all that information, I go home, put everything into the system, make sure obviously what they want is something they can get. I feel like being very real with people, I had a client, I already told her, I said, listen, it's not the time for you to buy right now.
Yeah, 100%. You have to be straight, with the client. The good thing is you have underwriting experience, right? So you know a lot more questions that you should be asking, right? So I'm not a loan originator, right? So I don't get involved with explaining to them, DTIs and none of that stuff, rates and nothing of that. What I like to do is, let's say you call me and say, Louis, I want to buy a house. So what we do is we pretty much take the application over the phone, right? Okay, so I ask them, hey, what do you want to buy a house?
Right.
What's your ideal home? What are your wants? What are your needs? Right? That's the basic. Every agent should be asking those questions, right? But I take it up a step more, right? So what I do is I ask them, okay, do you know what type of loan you're looking for, right? Because 90% of the times they don't know what loan they're going to qualify for, right? Are they going to go FHA? Are they going to go conventional? Right, so that's what I like to ask personally, and I have this conversation with them before they even go to a lender, because I'll literally be on the phone with them for an hour, and I'd rather spend that hour with them on my initial phone call, because I know that if I send that lead to my lender, right, it's gonna get pre-approved. You already know what to ask, right?
Right.
So, did you have a foreclosure previously? How long was your foreclosure?
Right.
Did you do a short sale? Do you have child support, right? Because why? Agents are not asking these questions. They think the lender's going to do all the work. We want to make sure that we are servicing the client, not just treating them like a customer and sending them to a lender, right? So when you're servicing, you're providing a full 360 service from the beginning to the end, and now you're putting something together for them. And at the end of the day, you have control of the deal as well, because now you're sending it to the lender and saying, hey, look, this is my client. This is what they have. And now, you have a better relationship with that, client. I consider myself a new agent as well, actually. And you know what? Like, I say this because I'm always learning everything, right? Yeah. Like, every day I learn something new. And there's times where you'll sit here and you'll realize, like, wow, why didn't I learn that 3 years ago, And I think the most important thing is, like, that you realize it, but you got to take action, right? And what happens is, like, Michelle, you were saying, it's like, yeah, you get older, right? But sometimes, like, we are young, right? So we're young, so I always say this, like, why don't we make the sacrifice for 5 years, right? Because what's going to happen in 5 years, 5 years, you're going to be a certain amount of age, you're going to have that success, right? But what happens is a lot of people take the, you know the saying, like the work-life balance. You got to know when to have it though, because you can't have work-life balance being broke. You can have work-life balance when you're already successful. Now you know when to work, now you know when to enjoy your life, and now you can balance both, right? But if you're not putting in the time right now, you're always gonna try to get that, 5, 10, 15 years, 20 years, it's gonna pass, and you're gonna be like, why am I not successful? Right?
I mean, look at Bryan Karp too. He makes how much money? He closed 256 homes last year.
Yeah.
He has no jewelry. That's what he said. He's like, look at me, I have no jewelry on.
So literally, me and him had a conversation probably like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I was right actually before the show started, because there was, he was recording a video for this, and our conversation was this, and I'll tell you, I'll say it, and I'll call myself out on it because I don't care, right? So he told me, Lewis, don't start a team, right? He said, you already started, so there's no going back. Like, you got to figure it out. Right. He said, work for 10 years, right? Live to your means, right? Stop spending money on, like, stupidest things, right? And when, he said that to me, it was like a reality check again, like all over. Like, okay, so Bryan Karp took him 10 years. He was living to his means, right? He did this consistent for 10 years, bro, right? To be where he's at, right? So at the end of the day, for me, I'm like, all right, I look back and I'm like, okay, for me, it's 1% every day, getting better every day, 1%. But if I would have known Bryan Karp 4 or 5 years ago when I first started, and he would have told me that, I probably wouldn't listen. Because I was young and I was stupid, right? But because I was, right? And that's what I did. You know what the first mistake I did was? Got a nice check. What did I do? Go buy my BMW, right? Okay. Now I'm $80,000 worth into debt because I have a nice little M3 that I'm driving around. Boom. What happens? It gets totaled. Now I still owe money on it. Blah, blah, blah. Now all the money that I made, I invested it into something stupid when I could have invested, like, you're trying to do, right, Jacob? Into
failing to do, but trying.
But it's better to fail that way because you tried into the business, right?
Yeah.
So think about it, right? Let's say you and I were on the same level at that point, and then I'm like, okay, let me invest this into real estate, and then I'm investing into a car. It's not we're probably gonna have the same success of the rate of failure, but you probably made a smarter decision trying to do that. Right now, you need to focus on systems, getting that accountability. How many calls are you making a day, right? How many contacts are you making a day? How many doors are you knocking a day? And you got to keep track of all this stuff, because at the end of the year, if I say, Jacob, how many calls did you make this year? And you tell me, I don't know. How many opportunities did you lose? Yeah. Right? But if you keep track of how many calls, how many contacts, how many opportunities you had, how many opportunities you got, then you'll see where you stand. And then the next year we could fix all of that stuff and say, okay, look, this is how many contacts you like. All of this is to help you become better next year. And then the next year you'll amp it up. And then what's gonna happen is eventually you're gonna hire an assistant. That's my goal, right? Next. So then I'm gonna hire an assistant who's gonna help me build my level from level 1 to level 2. Now I'm gonna double my business. I'm building slowly, but I'm building strong.
How are you supposed to be able to have realistic or ideal goals?
It's very simple, right? You gotta think big, right?
Yeah.
Because when you think big, you're gonna win big, right? But if you think small, you're not gonna get shit, right? So what I mean by think big, right? So your goal is you want to do 100 deals one day, right? So 100 deals is not that hard. I haven't done 100 deals yet, right? But I'm gonna work my towards my goal to do 100 deals, right? So how am I gonna do that? I break it down into smaller goals, right? So okay, if I know by 2-3 years from now I want to do 100 deals, okay, I'm gonna start by doing 5 each quarter, 5, 10, 15, 20 that year. Okay, how do I get closer to 100, right? Okay, and now I want to do 30, 40, right? So I break it down each quarter into short-term goals that is gonna get me to where I want to be. You gotta find something that just drives you, bro. Like it's like when this thing drives you, like 10 deals is gonna be nothing. You know, if you think about it, it's how bad do you want it, right? Because like if you really, really want it bad, you're gonna make it happen, right?
Yeah.
And it goes into every aspect of your life. Like if you want to be successful in real estate, you want to be successful at anything you want to do. It's like if you put in the work, like you're gonna get there eventually, you know.
Definitely.
And that's something
it's just like, that's one thing, you know, going back to putting into work with everything. Like if you can't go to the gym or take your diet seriously, or you know, your health seriously, or stuff like that, how are people supposed to expect that you're gonna take your business seriously?
100%.
Like, if you're not what's the right
word? Committed, yeah.
If you're not committed to like daily activities, then how can you be committed to, one, your business, and two, serving your clients day in and day out?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'll be straightforward. I think, you know, I think we all have like situations that stop us from doing certain things. Like, it's not that we're not capable of doing it, but sometimes like we don't have the accountabilities. For me, like the last 6 months, I've been trying to change that for myself, because I did slack on that. I'll say it again, I'm very guilty of like a lot of things, because I fell into the trap. Like we all fall into the trap, but it's how you get out of it.
Yeah. So that you know it, you learn it, and you know that, you know, what you gotta fix and what you gotta do.
I have an accountability partner, which is actually my mentor. So the way that we work is very simple, right? So I have to be at the gym at a certain time, right? So at 5:55, if I don't send him a picture at 5:55 of me at the gym, I owe him $50 for the day. I had the right people on my team, I had the right people behind me, but I just never had somebody pushing me, right? So Tane is like, you know, the one that's like on my ass pretty much, like, yo, like, don't get off the gas. Like, you know, if I'm not on the Zoom call at 8 o'clock, even though he's in Virginia, he's calling me at 8:10. Yo, where are you? Are you asleep? Are you okay? You know, like, is everything good? So having an accountability partner every day, like, that's on your ass, makes you like, fuck, like, I gotta do it. I have to do it. I can't let this person down. So, you know, I owe all this to him, because, like, you know, we have all his systems in place, like all the things that I'm teaching you, I'm able to learn from him. And, you know, I knew them, but I was like, I was doing it here and there, not doing it consistently.
You touched base on the other day too, is like it's the consistency. You can't make phone calls for 2 weeks straight and expect to have a huge pipeline. The guy that I follow, Ricky Carruth, who's amazing, he's been doing cold calls for like 7 years. He probably made over 500,000 cold calls, and now he does like 100 homes a year. Doesn't make one phone call, so you got to build up that pipeline and build up.
But so what Michelle said is by building up the pipeline too, right? And if we go back to that part, the conversation we had was you got to call quality leads, but quantity too, right? Because a lot of people focus on quality, but they don't do quantity, right? So what I mean by that is, okay, if you're gonna make calls, you're weeding out the clients that you don't want to work with, right? You know, because there's gonna be a lot of people who are assholes, and people who you don't want to do business with, right? There's gonna be people. Look, I'm saying like this. There's gonna be times where you're gonna go to a listing appointment, and you're gonna be like, nah, I don't even want to work with this person, right? Because it's just not worth it. It's not worth it. And then at the end of the day, like you gotta call that shot, right? But there's gonna be somebody else who doesn't care and is gonna take the listing just cause it's another listing. But when you're building a pipeline, you're building a pipeline for the future, because 5 years from now, you're going to look back at the pipeline, you're going to see, oh, damn, this person told me they wanted to sell 5 years. And look, it's 5 years later. Hey, this is Josh, this is Jacob, this is Michelle. You know, and now you've been having that follow-up. Now you have the conversation, hey, you know, I remember when I spoke to you back in 2022, and, you know, our first initial conversation, I know that you said you were looking to move down to South Carolina, and now it's time. Let's get this started, right? But, you know, if you're not doing it consistently, you're not doing your follow-ups, you know, I think I told you, right, Jacob, like those 2 leads that I lost, right? Yeah, so, you know, I think I told you as well, right? Like, you know, it's all in the follow-up. It's all, like, you're going to lose listings here and there. You're going to lose buyers here and there, and it's totally fine.
Part of the business.
Do you sit and cry about it, or do you keep going, right? So it's the same thing with the lead gen. It's the same thing with social media. Anything that you do real estate related, you're gonna try it for a year. If it's good, boom, put it in your good list, in your good bucket list. If it's garbage, put it in your garbage list and don't look back at it. Don't cry about it.
Failure leads to success.
100%.
Always.
Are you guys working on like your 5-year plan and everything so far, or is that something that you still have to work on?
I actually have a 2-year plan, and then I have a 5-year and a 10-year.
Okay.
My goal is to eventually be, large enough to not even start a team. Essentially, I want to have an administration assistant to help me, so I could go get the deals. They could do all the offers and stuff like this, and the paperwork, because it is time-consuming and tedious. And then eventually to have a team when my daughter's old enough to have her come under my wing, and we could be a team.
The mom and
daughter team, killing it.
Definitely.
Smithtown and St. James.
Yeah, I think she's calling you guys out. She's
Deer Park.
Hey, that was my first listing was Smithtown. I'm sorry. Sorry.
Yeah. And what about you, Jacob? I know we actually really didn't touch up on that, but so I'll ask this instead, this question, so it's more of a general question, right? So what is your goal after this show? For a year? What are you guys planning on doing?
Okay, so after the show is just to go with that time management schedule, with the cold calling, the door knocking, and to get listings.
Year 2, I'm kind of focusing on, getting myself a schedule where I'm gonna finding what works.
What was year 1? You skipped to year 2.
Well, year 1 was just as simple as I want to learn. I want to learn as much as I can.
But I would say that you should also implement that into 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
100%, because
you never stop learning.
Exactly. I mean, my broker tells me every single day. He's like, I've been doing this for 25 plus years. I learn something new all the time. Every deal is different. So 100%. But there are some basic things I definitely want to sharpen my skills on. And that's kind of been my focus. But year 2 is just all about, after I get that schedule, I wanna hustle. I wanna work as hard as I possibly can, and every year after that, I just want to try and do my best towards doubling my sales. I don't necessarily have a number picked out, but after I get that number that I'm starting with, I want to start trying to do whatever I can, just work harder every single year.
You're gonna use your experience from year 1, your experience from year 2, your experience from year 3 to make that happen, right? So those experiences are gonna make you, your 4th and 5th year the best, right? And it's just, you got to remember, where you came from too, right? Because a lot of people forget when they hit 5th year, they're like, oh, but they don't remember that they did 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and they struggled, right? So, when you guys are successful, because there's no doubt in it, that you guys are going to be successful, but you got to remember where you come from.
Yes.
And then, Josh, I didn't ask you this question, so you got to look at the damn camera and tell yourself, Josh, 5 years from now, what are you doing?
I'm building the business, growing. I'm having properties for myself and my family, and just helping as many clients and people as possible as I can.
Let's make it happen.
Let's do it.
Let's make it happen.
Dream team right here.
We'll see each other in a year from now.
Yes.
I hope to keep chatting with you guys. If you need anything from me, I'm an open book. Call me anytime.
Appreciate everything that you've done.
Of course.
Thank you.
Alrighty.
Let's do it.
Alrighty.
Yes.
All right. Bring it in. Bring it in.
Next time on the New Agent Show.
Episode 3.
This is when they're gonna learn how to start producing content, right? Producing content and then distributing it at a high level for their family, for their friends, for their inner circle, for their tribe. This is where they're really gonna learn what it takes to blow up their personal brand. They're gonna learn it all from EPM Studios on Media Training Day.